Hey folks, thanks for joining us on another Daily Dose of Science. And today happens to be the 30th anniversary of the Hubble Space Telescope. We so happen to have a model from the Jet Propulsion Laboratories of NASA here at the Science Zone. And you know, we've got some pretty great experts here in town at the Casper Planetarium. Rod, Michelle, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good to be here.
So first, let's start off. What is the Hubble Space Telescope?
The Hubble Space Telescope is a telescope just like what we have on Earth, but it's much bigger and it's out in space. Originally, it was called the Very Large Telescope, and plans for it happened clear back right after World War II. And they knew that they needed to get a telescope out in space because the Earth's atmosphere blocked a lot of the information that they needed to have access to.
So why would you put a telescope in space?
Because the Earth's atmosphere blocks out a lot of information that comes from distant objects, particularly in the X-ray. And so even though Earth's atmosphere is important for us to protect us, it also keeps us from learning different things about our universe in different wavelengths of light. And so we need to be able to look at them in different wavelengths of light that aren't necessarily visible. And so we have infrared, X-ray, ultraviolet, and the Hubble Space Telescope has cameras that capture images in the visible light, but also in other wavelengths of light. And so they have something called a spectrograph. And so that spectrograph takes those different wavelengths of light and it gives us different information.
Hubble, because it's been up there so long, has discovered just all kinds of different things. It has done tons of cool work. And one of the big things is the discovery of something called protoplanetary disks. And basically what that is a place in a nebula where a new star has just been born and the leftover stuff is starting to accrete together to form planets. This is a stellar nursery, and in the very center are a whole bunch of brand new stars. And when they pointed the Hubble Space Telescope at this, they discovered around some of these stars, these places where these brand new stars are being born. That's one big, huge discovery that they made.
Do you have a favorite mission or any favorite photos from the Hubble Space Telescope?
My favorite images are Hubble Deep Field, and that's when the Hubble focused on an area of space where they thought there was nothing, and it was about the size of a grain of sand. They left it there for 100 hours to gather light information. And the image that they got back, every point of light in that image is a galaxy, a distant galaxy. And there were over 1,400 galaxies in that one image that they created from collecting light for over 100 hours.
One of the most famous images ever taken by Hubble was called the Pillars of Creation. And the Pillars of Creation, it's the very end of what's called the Eagle Nebula. And like the Orion Nebula, it's a star-forming region. At the end of each one of these columns is a stellar nursery.
I think it's interesting that it only orbits about 350 miles above Earth. And I think it orbits about every 97 minutes.
The Hubble is basically roughly the size of a school bus, basically. This is a virtual 3D model of the telescope, so it's basically roughly the size of a school bus. Big enough that they launched it from the cargo bay of the space shuttle, and it works just like it's more sophisticated, but basically if you fly down the throat of the telescope here, it hits a mirror, the light hits a mirror, is reflected back to another mirror, and then is reflected back to this back end is where the camera assembly is. So basically, light goes in, okay, and is then rerouted back here to the camera assembly and through the filters and things like that.
It's taken over 1.4 million observations and more than 16,000 peer-reviewed scientific publications have been from the Hubble data.
Is there anything else that you would like to talk about with Hubble or its missions?
Hubble has really changed how we view our universe and how we view how things happen in it.
I would just say stay tuned for more information because it's still out there and those wonderful images will continue to thrill us about our universe and to reveal more and more mysteries of our universe.
Well, Ron, Michelle, thank you so much for joining us today on our Daily Dose of Science as we explore the 30 years of Hubble. Thanks, and we'll see you next time. Stay curious out there.
If you enjoyed today's content and would like it to continue, please consider joining these generous supporters of the Science Zone and our virtual engagement platform by clicking the donate button here or on our website. Thank you.